Okay, so welcome everyone. I am just going to quickly talk about how we're going to do questions. We have a big Q&A session at the end of our presentations, and so you are welcome to write in the chat. Sorry, let me get someone. You're welcome to write in the chat your questions, and then we'll go through them at the end. Or if you want to just write them down to yourself and then call out at the end during our Q&A session. And so I'm going to hand it off to Jim.
Thanks, Allison. Yeah, I think we'll have 8 or 10 people joining us. So, not a bad turnout, but not so big that it will make the Q&A part difficult, I think. So we could probably feel free to put a note in the chat, and even if it's just to introduce yourself and say who you are so people can see who's on. But I wanted to thank everybody for coming out and listening in on today's Button Up event. And I would like to say special thanks to Allison for helping get this organized, and to our presenters who in order of appearance will be Becca White from Efficiency Vermont. And Becca will be covering kind of the basics of the Button Up program and weatherization, and a little bit of information on options and opportunities for renters and landlords. Mark Darian from BROC Community Action, which I think probably offers the best deal in Vermont right now on anything. Free stuff, right? You can't beat that. And Melanie Paskovich, a great partner with NeighborWorks of Western Vermont, who has a whole array of programs that benefit homeowners and residents of the region. So thank you all. And I will, without going any further than that, I will just turn it over to Becca to get things going.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Allison. And I see, or at least read, the names of some familiar folks. So, hey, Dorset residents. I'm just going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Are you seeing the presentation? Are you seeing maybe a nod? Okay, Allison's nodding. We're on the right track. And I'm just going to open up my notes here. So thanks for the introduction. I'm going to go over some high-level information about buttoning up your home and the Button Up Vermont campaign. And then I'm going to do a few tips on renters and landlords. And since we've got the folks at BROC here and our friends at Heat Squad, I'm not going to spend as much time on some of the sections that I normally would, because they've got real information for you. They're the resource that I would be recommending in this presentation. So, to start off, Button Up Vermont is a statewide campaign. The overall theme of Button Up Vermont, similar to greening up in the spring, we want to button up in the fall. We want to have a statewide comprehensive campaign to educate Vermonters about the importance of weatherization. And we have a bunch of cool partners who do that work with us. Some familiar names here. We've also got all of the state utilities on board, which is just a fantastic display of support for weatherization. So shout out to all of the partners who are making the campaign happen. So to dive in, first off, and I feel bad for Ann Lawless, who has seen me give this presentation, so she knows all my jokes. But I love this slide, and I love this slide because it was the first slide that ever explained to me truly what weatherization means. So if you're on an energy committee and you're trying to explain the value, this always seems to resonate. So I've got my nice warm sweater on, and that's my insulation. It's keeping my heat nice and close to my body. But when I go outside on a January day, or even maybe tomorrow if it cools down, I still have, even in this sweater that I'm wearing now, or a big cable knit sweater, I still have holes in that sweater. So air can go through those holes. So what I really want to have is my sweater and a windbreaker. And that's the same concept we think about for homes. You want that insulation with that sweater and that lovely windbreaker to air seal. So that combination actually prevents cold air from getting in and hot air from getting out. So really the dream team with insulation and air sealing. And for buttoning up your home, you're going to want to start to think through all the different places that hot air escapes through the holes in our roof or attic or upper stories, and that cold air and drafts actually come through the leaks in our basements and lower stories. So all the experts on this call know that is called the stack effect. So that's a basic principle of building science now, is we want to make sure that we are considering air movement when we're buttoning up our homes. So air movement actually reduces the effectiveness of insulation, just like that breeze going through your sweater makes you feel cold. So some common places for leaks include fan vents, attic hatches, chimneys, recessed lighting. You might like even in my office, you know, it can be outlets. Like if you ever run your hand over your outlet and you feel cold, it can be doors, windows, basements, just about any place where the wall and floor meet could be a location that you'd want to prioritize for air sealing. For insulation, going back to that sweater, these are the places I would prioritize because you want to prioritize the locations that are in contact with your windbreaker, quote unquote. So being able to identify any of these top 5 locations will help you prioritize your insulation work. So not only did I just tell you how weatherization might look for your home or how air sealing might look, there are some great reasons why you should weatherize your home. And the first, I think the one that resonates with a lot of Vermonters, is the fact that you can save money. So comprehensive weatherization projects can actually save a Vermont household anywhere from $500 to $800 per year in fuel costs. And that's a really conservative estimate, just to let folks know. And you can even see that households have saved an equivalent of 15% after a job is completed in energy use. So that money is a pretty substantial thing that you could be saving and then investing in other ways. The other way that we think about saving money with buttoning up is that as a state, 78% of our heating costs leave the state. So 78% of our heating leaves the state because of fossil fuels. So if you're thinking about saving money, you're also actually saving money for your community and investing dollars locally. The next piece is increased comfort. I think Vermonters, we like to stick it out and not worry and just go ahead and say, we can suffer through maybe some cold winters or some drafts. Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm giving you a guilt-free pass. You do not need to do that. You do not need to stick it out. This office that I'm in right now was like every Vermonter has experienced this, that room that you don't use for part of the year. You don't have to have a room in your house that you don't use for part of the year. This is my pass to let you know that. Because guess what? We're spending a lot more time in our homes recently. So being able to utilize all the space you have and to feel comfortable in that space is pretty important. So the other 2 pieces include saving energy and reducing carbon pollution. So I think about those 2 things actually separately, even though most of us might consider them as maybe the same issue or tackling the same problem. Well, for saving energy, right now, heating fuel and heating our businesses makes up about 42% of our total energy use as a state. And again, 78% of that leaves the state of Vermont. Because of fossil fuels. So buttoning up our homes actually reduces our total energy use as communities. And then for reducing carbon pollution, the less fuel we burn, the fewer air pollutants, the fewer pollutants that end up in our atmosphere, which contribute to climate change. So it's really a twofold idea, kind of energy independence, and then actually reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. And just to put a finer point on that, with greenhouse gas emissions, I know a lot of us might think of weatherization as maybe a home topic, or a topic that impacts, I don't even know how to say it, like an industry when in reality, it has real tangible impacts for global warming. It is a part of the solution. So if you just heard all that, and now that you're an expert on the building science of weatherization, and you're jazzed because you now know the 4 big reasons you should weatherize, how do you get started? Income eligible weatherization. For eligibility, if your income falls at or below 80% of the median income, you're eligible for free weatherization. I'm going to leave a lot of that conversation to our friends at BROC. But let's say you are not income eligible. Thinking about comprehensive weatherization with the Home Performance with Energy Star Qualified Contractor Network is a great place to start. And our friends at Heat Squad can tell you all about taking the next steps there. And then the final one, a lot of conversations right now that I'm having for the Button Up campaign revolve around doing it yourself. Many handy Vermonters, although I am not one of them, are thinking about how to do it themselves. And you can get $100 back by completing 3 projects out of 6, which I'll show you in a minute. So income eligible weatherization, you've got BROC. As you can see, if you're in that area, boom, that's your go-to. If you're not, if you're like me and you live in White River Junction for some crazy reason, and you're on this presentation, it would be Sevka. So when we think about weatherization, an important piece to understand is how the financing can work for you. So if you're not eligible for income eligible weatherization and you'd like to do a comprehensive project, looking at the home energy loan would be a great place to start. Between the incentives and financing, you could actually pay for a comprehensive weatherization project for just $60 a month. And I know in our personal situation with this home, before we moved in, the heating bill costs that the previous owners were paying on average is greater than what we are ending up paying in our home energy loan. So when we look at our savings, we're actually effectively saving more money than we're paying out, and we get all those lovely benefits that I talked about earlier. So there's as low as 0% financing for those home energy loans. And thinking about that do-it-yourself piece, any of these 3 projects, if you were to pick one and do, you could get that $100 rebate. And I've had people ask me, hey, what documentation do I need to get this rebate? I'm going to be honest, it's very simple. We used to require that you had to take a photo or kind of show us documentation. Really, we trust Vermonters. We know if you're going to invest in a DIY project, you're going to do the work. So simple, no barriers in my mind to doing it yourself with this rebate. And there's some great how-tos on the Efficiency Vermont website. Okay, so what to do next? You could call customer support at Efficiency Vermont. You could schedule a free home energy visit, a virtual home energy visit. It's not an audit, so I'll be really clear about that. If you're thinking about doing a comprehensive weatherization project, this is not an audit. This is a first blush. How does it look in your home? So maybe something if you're really at the beginning of the process rather than actually taking a next step. If you are thinking about taking a next step, finding a contractor, that page is very helpful. And then if you call BROC for income eligibility, that's a great next step too. And then if somehow you're a Burlington resident on this, call Burlington Electric. They're a great resource if you're in their region. So with that, I'm going to jump to renter and landlord tips. I just want to look, just wanted to check. Okay. Just wanted to check the chat in case there was any specific message. Okay. Renters and landlords. This is an Efficiency Vermont presentation, and something that we talk a lot about at Efficiency Vermont is how folks can find renting to be frustrating because they don't feel that they can control their energy use or how they heat their apartments, for example. But there are actually some ways that you can reduce your energy even as a renter. So if your apartment or house, let's say you're renting a single family home, if it has its own thermostat, you can set that temperature down 7, 10 degrees for 8 hours a day. For example, like when you're sleeping, or if you happen to be one of the few folks who are not working from home, maybe you venture out for a few hours, you could lower the thermostat then. You could also make sure the light bulbs in your most commonly used areas are switched to LEDs. So that could be your kitchen, living room. We actually found above our like our range, like our oven range, we found that that light bulb had not been changed, and we kind of use that as like a night light. So we didn't think about it, but switching it out to LED was a great move for us. So some of those places you might not think about are important. Removing the dust buildup on your refrigerator and heating systems will also help the system perform better. So you're paying less to heat your home or apartment. And it'll also improve air quality and safety. So take that vacuum, take a moment, get into that bathroom fan. You'll be disgusted, but you'll be happy when it's done. You can, I mean, I've seen some not so great videos of that one. And if you're, just a plug, if you're planning on joining us for the Weatherization Wednesday next week on the 28th, we're going to be doing spooky weatherization stories, and there's a lot of bathroom fan photos that are very creepy. So just a plug for that. So removing that dust buildup could be very helpful. You can also add weather stripping to window and doors, and that can help keep drafts out and heat in during the winter time. Another example is a lot of appliances have idle mode. So if you're working from home quite a bit, you might be using a computer or even a second monitor or on your TV more. Making sure that you unplug or turn off those power strips when you're not using those devices can help save money. And finally, you could use curtains or shades on your windows. In the summer, close curtains on those windows, basically the windows that get a lot of sun during the day, you're going to want to close those. And then the winter, you do the opposite. And I found many Vermonters know that tip already. So if you don't, there's probably someone in your community who's already like got these perfectly good shades that you could talk to about their recommendations. There's some good opportunities for creative designs as well, is what I've seen. So finally, I did just want to highlight for renters, weatherization can still happen if you're a renter. When it comes to weatherization, renters are eligible to get the Weatherization Assistance Program and the Do-It-Yourself rebate. And rented single-family homes can qualify for comprehensive weatherization offers through Efficiency Vermont. And that's actually through our Building Performance Program, which helps multi-unit and multi-family units. Or there is also our Building Performance Program if you're not in a single-family home. You will need your landlord's permission to move forward with any of those solutions. But in many cases, they would be responsible for the upfront cost of the project, and then they would receive the incentive. So it's a good conversation to have with your landlord. And then finally, the big takeaway for renters and for folks who have multiple properties or are landlords is give us a call. There is a solution potentially for you, and I think many folks don't think they qualify for some of these solutions, and you actually just might. So take a couple minutes, give us a call, and we're happy to help you get started. So there you go. That's my whole spiel. I'll stop sharing now and pass it off to, I believe, Mark.
All right, great job. That was excellent. You're saving me a lot of work there at the explanations there. The air sealing and the insulation, and that's great. But, anyway, I am the director of BROC's Weatherization Department, and we are one of 5 community action agencies in the state of Vermont. You're probably all aware of. And anyway, the income guidelines for us, I can bring that up on the screen here if I can share my screen. Right here, as she mentioned, it's we go, if you see right here, we're one of these counties and we go use the state of Vermont. So down here where my arrow is, the monthly 80% for one person is 3,700. These are up here. These are all the, how many in the household, per household. So a family of four, their annual income would be $63,200. A family of three would be 56,000. That's annual income, and then right above it is monthly income. So it's pretty. It'll probably hit a lot of people out there that will qualify. So if you're edging on, I might not qualify. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, I say, and I would just basically call a community action agency and get an application and fill it out. We can call, I can put the number up here if you'd want, but I don't really have any slideshow presentation. Let's see here, show desktop. And if you do live in Bennington County, you can reach out and call today, 665-1748. And basically we have 19 staff working for us in Rutland and Bennington County. And what we, let me see if I can take this off. And basically we start out, we have a comprehensive weatherization plan as well put together. We start out, once you qualify, with a efficiency coach. And that's the first person on site. And he'll go over and he basically will explain what Becca was talking about. He'll give you tips and hints and everything else, and basically talk about the weatherization process, because once your home gets weatherized, it's almost it's a new home, and it's going to work a lot differently. We work with obviously health and safety measures too as well, moisture control, insulating, the thermal part, air sealing as well. And we look at all aspects of the house. We do have some funding in there for home repairs that, so homes won't get, we've had that the past few years. That way, if there's some other work that's not covered under energy saving measures that we're doing, we can actually work through that. We're allowed up to $3,000 per home, per job for home repair funds. And then, of course, we do work occasionally with NeighborWorks, and they have an extensive program to help out with that too. We're actually working with one of them, one of the jobs down in Bennington now, where we're paying for part of the roof work to be done, and they're taking care of part of the scope, and we're taking care of the rest of it, of what the person wants to do. So it's a teamed up effort on that one, and I think that one's going really well. But anyway, with the coach, he'll go in and explain. Basically, he'll take a look at the temperature, everything from the temperature coming out of your tap for the hot water to make sure that's not running too hot, save you energy there. If you have an electric hot water heater, he'll screen to see if you're a good candidate for a heat pump water heater. He'll also do the tips on the, we might replace the thermostat with a setback type, as Becca touch base on too. You get that to turn down a certain time, within a 24-hour period, there's a substantial amount of savings in there. If it's automatic, it's great. We do have some easier ones that some folks like. You just push a button, boom, it'll set back 8 to 10 degrees in the evening, or if they leave the home. And he'll also take a look at their washing machine, depending on the size of the household and what they heat their water with and everything. They might qualify for energy, efficiency washing machine. Obviously, in turn, that's going to help because your clothes are going to come out almost dry after the spin cycle, and you won't have to use your dryer that long. After all that's said and done, an auditor will go out and, I'll repeat, this is no cost to the homeowner whatsoever. And the auditor will go out and do a comprehensive energy audit of the whole building. We have building performance certified people and quality control monitors and everything else that can go out there and do this. So we do like 145 homes a year. So they'll go out through there and they'll go through the house, top to bottom, head to toe, everything, and take a look and see where your envelope is going to be or where your air barrier is going to be, and see what the process is on what we can do to help save the most energy. A lot of people, we get there like, oh, I need all no doors and windows. But it's not all about that. As Becca touched base on too, where your floor meets the walls or your ceiling, you got your top plates, a significant amount of heat loss there. That's for your drafts. You get that stack effect that she brought up. So the biggest animal is getting the top plates and getting that air sealing done on the attic level or the top level to stop that air from moving out. And then we'll move down and do the basement where your home or the materials meet the foundation, and we'll insulate and air seal that as well. Those are the two biggest culprits right there. And then obviously we'll move on to the walls, and we can dense pack those. We use basically a lot of cellulose insulation for dense packing, and a couple different spray foams. We got a 2-part and we have a 1-part. So anyway, we'll take a look at that, and basically living habits too of the folks living there. You go in and a lot of people don't really think about it. They open a window or they don't use their exhaust fans, or as Becca pointed out, next week I'm gonna have to tune in on that scary weatherization, because I've seen some awful bathroom exhaust fans. And out of sight, out of mind. People don't look at them. We get in, the auditors will take a look at it, and that hasn't been opened up in years, and it's barely moving some air through there. So again, you get the moisture build up, you don't get the air changes in the house, and it's just unhealthy. And what more could you ask for? You get your energy savings, you get your money in your pocket from that, you get your comfort. I'm just repeating what Becca went over, which I'm very happy she did that, because I tend to talk a little bit more in technical terms sometimes, and it's hard for me to explain it in layman's terms. You get your moisture control. We'll deal just not exhaust fans too. We'll take a look if it's a wet basement. If there's water coming down and it needs to be graded away from the home, we'll take a look at that. If there's a sump pump that's failing, we'll take a look at that. We'll talk to people and educate people. You don't want to get a fresh load of wood and store that in your basement, because the moisture coming off that is just going to go throughout the house. So depending on what you store in your basement, that's going to affect it too. But along with all this, you mentioned comfort, and with that comfort comes being healthier, and not only physically but mentally too. You go in and it's a process. It's an interruption of your life. You got a work crew in there. They're going into your attic. They're going in your basement. They're going all over your place. You're like, oh, what's going on? I usually tell people it's probably a good time to leave for a few days. When you get back, you'll get calls. We get letters all the time. And these people are like, wow, I mean, I can walk around my house and I don't need a big coat on, or I don't have to sit in the living room with this blanket over me. And it's such a difference. And not only in the wintertime, in the summertime too as well, So along with those tips of the shades and the curtains and everything else, weatherization is key. And it's just, we can't do enough of it, basically, and a big part of that is, as Becca mentioned, 78%, I think you said, Becca, that money for fuel leaves the state, and it does put a big mark on the carbon footprint. So the more we do to save this, the better we all are off on that. The average cost of a home we do weatherizing is basically the average is like $10,600 to basically put into a home. Some are higher, some are lower. And some of the bigger ones too, for landlords out there, renting, small landlords, large landlords, you can apply, we can weatherize your home. Not everyone in the household has to qualify income eligible. Depending on the funding we use, we have the federal funds, the Department of Energy funds, which more than half the household would have to qualify. Then we get the state funds. But there's, and if you qualify as a landlord, which you might, it may be an owner occupied landlord, but any multi-unit house we can weatherize. Sometimes the homeowner or the landlord will have to take care of some of the health and safety, like clean and tune and evaluate the heating system and moisture control, fans or whatnot. We can install them, but they would have to purchase them. But like I said before, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Give us a call, and basically, even if you're not in Bennington County, if you're in Rutland County, if you're over the line in southeastern Vermont, Sefka's territory, give them a call and see if you qualify, because if you never know. And if you don't, you can move on to NeighborWorks. They got multiple different programs they can help you with. Very educated folks over there, and they can line you up with a contractor and walk you through the incentives available with Efficiency Vermont and everything else. And it's a great that they have that there. And there's, like you said, you can afford a comprehensive weatherization project through them, and they'll make the payments work for you if at all possible. But anybody that qualifies, please reach out to the community action agencies out there. One thing I did want to mention here was that out of the homes we do, I think, Becca, did you say like $500, $800 savings a year on fuel costs?
Yep.
Yeah, some of that, a lot of the Vermont has some of the oldest housing stock in the country, and you wouldn't believe how many houses we go into and there's not a stitch of insulation in the walls. I mean, completely empty, or they're filled with bottles or scary stuff, as you mentioned in there. And just to get in there to do that, to add that insulation in there, a lot of people don't even realize it. They keep paying for the fuel. So the word gets out there. It's not just about weather sealing, weather stripping and getting some new windows. Just taking a look at air sealing of the walls, floors, basement, attic, everything in there, just to make that house and keep these, Vermonters in their homes so they can afford them. So I think that's about all I have to say on that. I'd like to turn it over to Melanie on NeighborWorks on that. And she can take over from here. Let me check the chat box.
Do you want to answer those questions, Mark? I forget.
Are you gonna do it at the end, or would you like to do it now?
Well, since we're ahead of schedule a little bit, why don't you answer those now, especially since a couple of them are mine, so I'm eager to hear.
Okay, let me start off at the top here. How is the income determined? Well, basically your income is determined by what you're bringing in, not what you have in your savings account. Basically, that would be a question. I mean, if it would be all the income that you have coming in. I mean, obviously, if you get rent from somebody, anything that you have coming in will be determined your income.
But Mark, how does that work with a rental unit? It goes by the renter?
Yeah. The landlord can obviously apply too. If the landlord applies and qualifies income eligible, then we can do the health and safety measures as well. If not, he could have a 4-unit, and if one of the people qualify, we can actually weatherize that whole apartment building, the whole building there. He would have to take care of the health and safety, the scope of work there. But we wouldn't be just like, well, we can't do anything for you. So, and if they do qualify, then we can take care of that as well. roughly how many weatherization projects have you done in Bennington County in 2020? I would say we've done probably, well, the start of the year was kind of messed up. We were on a hiatus for a little while. We're slated, we complete a project in Bennington 2 a week. And we had a shutdown for basically 2 months. So, and that's consistent. And that mentioned, Jim, how many we've done in Bennington. We do not really have a wait time in Bennington right now, believe it or not. If somebody was to apply within a couple months, you'd see a crew on the door getting the weatherization done. So from the time of application to boots on the ground getting weatherized is probably about 2 months by the time everything's done. Some will be quicker than that. So Efficiency Vermont, we work closely with Efficiency Vermont, Jim. We have basically our efficiency coach that goes out. We also do targeted high use visits for people that have high electrical usage to see what what's determined and what's causing their usage. And a lot of those, I call it the feeder program, because a lot of those end up being weatherization clients after the targeted high use visit. It's a great program that Efficiency Vermont runs through the weatherization agencies in the state. So that's basically it. Let's see.
I think Wayne and I were both wondering if your weatherization projects are tracked. We hear about the state weatherization goals and our own planning goals from our town and regional plans. And I'm just wondering, are the projects that BROC does and other weatherization assistance providers do, are they tabulated somehow so that
Oh yeah, they're tabulated. We do basically a report. They can run a report and tell you basically how many hours the average job takes for a single family, a 1 to 4 unit, or above a 4 unit. And they'll tell you how many MMBTU savings there are. They can tell you how much energy savings, how much health and safety went to. Everything is entered into our software system. And at any time, the administrators for that, the OEO, Office of Economic Opportunity, can look at that, and they can take a look at every state. We get a monthly report every month to see how each agency is doing and where we're going with it, and what needs to step up and what doesn't. So yeah, it's tracked substantially, and we can basically tell how much time it takes to do a certain measure. What's the average? What's the longest? So we got a extensive library of energy saving data in there.
Hey, Mark, this is Wayne. The question I have about that, I mean, all of this is great news. The question I have is there, how are you tracking the MBTU savings? I mean, are you actually using empirical data post weatherization, or, I mean, because the issue that I kind of feel like is one of the hidden issues in all of this is that the state's going to be using, energy conservation data to determine if they're making their goals. And if the energy information is inaccurate by, a significant amount, then the goals may or may not be, either may be reached earlier or may not be being reached at all.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I lost you. Hello?
So the question I have is how do you determine the savings that you're reporting?
Well, that's determined when you go into a house, you have to model it. Basically, every family is different, obviously. So you model it as this is what the heat would be, and this is what it's. So, and then you take a look at the fuel usage, and you take a look at your R values and your air leakage and everything, and that's all calculated and put into the software program that does that. And they do that at the state level, and then they take it. And they take all the pieces and they put it all together and run that report.
And Mark,
okay,
if I could just jump in there. Sorry, Jim, I know that you're working on distributing information about the regional Planning Commission report that Efficiency Vermont creates on a biannual basis, I believe. And that could, if you're interested in that kind of information, I know that there's some work being done to provide how each individual county is doing with thermal savings in particular, which does really break down like MMBTUs and commercial, residential. So.
Good. Yeah, I think what I was, because I do work with that data, and I just was wanting to determine whether, all the work that BROC and others are doing is incorporated in what we receive. So you get a report from the weatherization agencies and incorporate that, because it's incredibly helpful for us to have at the town and regional level. So yeah, great. Thank you. I think we're like right back on schedule now. If let's see, Mel, if
This next one here is this Bruce here you just asked about is he thinks his attic good, but he's got a finished basement. That there can be taken care of. There's a couple certain ways to see if that is using some infrared technology, blower door, to see what's going on down there. We've come across some finished basements, but you can evaluate that. And hopefully if they did finish it off, they did put something behind there. But I can't recommend anybody in particular right now.
I'll over the sound of my dogs barking in the background, turn it over to Melanie then. It's Melanie.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to share my screen. So we have 2 weeks, just telling everybody, please vote. So just putting that out there. Start from the beginning. And then it's funny, Mark, you mentioned about insulation. So I had an old camp that we've just been basically rebuilding, and we tore open the walls, and my insulation was long johns. So you can, you don't know what you're going to find when you crack into those walls. I can still remember my contractor called, Melanie, do you have any idea what your insulation is in these walls? No, long johns. I'm like, oh, okay. So you never know what you're going to find for sure. So yes, I'm Melanie Paskovich. I'm Director of Operations here at NeighborWorks of Western Vermont, and I've been in charge of the Heat Squad program since we started in 2010. And I know a lot of you on the call are familiar, so won't spend too much. I want to really talk about all the different offerings I have for Bennington County because I need to get the word out there. But just in a nutshell, everybody probably is aware, NeighborWorks Western Vermont is a nonprofit housing organization. We serve Addison, our core service area is Addison, Rutland, and Bennington County. We are all about sustainable, affordable home ownership, and we have several lines of business, we call them, or programs. We have our Heat Squad, of course. We have home repair to help fix up lower income homeowners, their homes, and that's what Mark was talking about. We pair our home repair with weatherization, so BROC. And we have homebuyer education, financial counseling, and we have a great lending arm with lots of different lending products. And some of our programs are statewide, and some are 3/4 of the state, and some are our core service area, Addison, Rutland, and Bennington. But again, in a nutshell, we're a nonprofit housing organization, and we're all about one-stop shopping and helping customers. So Heat Squad just kind of builds on all of that, of who we are here. And in a nutshell, Heat Squad is kind of, is that one-stop shop for energy efficiency. And I tell customers, we kind of start where the weatherization agencies stop. So, one of our first questions when we talk to a customer is number and household and income. And if it looks like they could apply for a weatherization agency, we're absolutely going to send them in those directions. So we tend to start where income-wise people can't take advantage of the weatherization programs, and up to all incomes. We do help mostly residential. We'll do small businesses too, but it's mostly residential, and regardless of income, we'll help anybody. And right now, Heat Squad is in the Northeast Kingdom, and I see Anne is on here, and she's our outreach coordinator for the Northeast Kingdom. And we're also in Addison, Rutland, Bennington, Wyndham, and Windsor. We have 3 energy auditors on staff now. We have Sally up in the Northeast Kingdom, and I have Rick Shappy down here and Nick Bike down in the southern part. So again, it's all in a nutshell, and we help customers through every step of the process, from education to going out there and educating the public about who we are and what we do in energy efficiency, and getting them signed up for that low-cost energy audit. We do the audit report. It's a comprehensive audit. It's very low cost. It's $150, which is very low cost. And then we help the customer through the project if they choose. We help them get contractors. We don't have contractors on staff. We work with great independent contractors that have been vetted, local. So we make that referral. We can oversee the job. We can help pay the contractor. And then we have in-house financing options, which I'll talk about. So we work with a lot of great partners. Efficiency Vermont is one. I don't have on here. Planning Commission's another. Energy committees and champions. And we've done 5,000 audits. I think we're over that, and over 2,000 projects at this point in time. So I think everybody, Becca's been great talking about this too, and Mark. We do that comprehensive energy audit. We're there about 3 hours. We're setting up the blower door. We're doing the infrared. We're looking top, bottom, middle of the house, asking what's going on. We're checking the efficiency of the heating system. We're checking the hot water, smoke detectors. What do you got for lights? What do you got for appliances? What have you done to the house? What do you plan to do to the house? What are your concerns? It's a comprehensive. And then we have special software. It's called Snug Pro that does the energy modeling, and we can actually create the report right there, which we try to do. But nowadays with COVID, we try not to be in the houses too long. And so we'll get that report very quickly. But importantly too, we're looking at health and safety. Is there mold? Is there mildew? Do you have carbon monoxide issues? Maybe you don't have proper smoke detectors. You don't have any, or the batteries are out like some people. So we're also checking those health and safety issues as well. So it's pretty comprehensive. It's a great service. And the audit report, which is right here, will show what you have and where we can get you. It shows savings. It shows financial, what a financing option might look like, and what are your monthly payments? What is your return on your investment? What is Efficiency Vermont rebates, which are great right now? They're up to $4,000 for moderate, low income, or market rates up to $1,000. It's half the project cost up to $4,000, or half the weatherization cost up to $1,000, depending on income. That's really, really great. And so we're kind of laying that all out from the customer, and we're showing them, this is what we found, this is how your house is performing, and this is where we can get you with and we dive into each of the different measures to show savings, and what the end result will look like, managing expectations. And, I talk about the comprehensive energy path, but we're helping people to kind of figure out the path and what fits for them. I think one of our strong points is we're objectively helping people. So, I don't have anything to sell, the auditors don't, but we are there to, and not, contractors are looking out for customers too, but we're just in a little different place. And I think customers feel safe with us to say, boy, I only have $3,000. I can only afford that right now. What can I do? So we help the customers to prioritize. All right, let's start with your basement. Let's get that rim joist. Let's start there. And then next year, let's do your attic, or you got some DIY stuff. Let's talk about that, and let's help you with that too. So it's getting people on that path and telling them, call us back. Like, if you've done the attic, great. Let's do the basement next year. Let's do heat pumps. Maybe you want a pellet boiler. Those are expensive, but maybe you do. And then let's get some solar in there. So laying that all out for people on what they can afford, when they can afford it, and prioritizing as necessary. I think, a lot of people are strong in this in the market, but I think we're particularly strong because we're objective. And so we're going to objectively help you kind of through that and to mine that and get you some cost estimates, show you energy savings. So going through that path. And then I think Becca mentioned this too. We have a statewide energy loan, which is the one on the right. We can do renewables. It's an unsecured loan. It's statewide. You don't have to be a Heat Squad customer. And, we can do air sealing, insulation, obviously health and safety, heat pumps, renewables, any of that We can't do countertops or boats for people, but I have people ask that. It's got to be energy related to some sort. But that's a great, easy peasy too. The lending is here. You don't have to apply anywhere. You know, you don't have to join a credit union or anything. You just apply here. You'll know in, I think, what does it say, 2-3 days. You'll get pre-qualified. It's a super easy process. I've had VPs of banks take out our loan, so it's a super easy process. And it's all, you know, the auditor can help, and then it's all in-house, so they don't have to outsource it. And then the one on the left is the home energy loan, which is the interest rate buy down financing model that we also take advantage. The SECU has it, and Opportunities Credit Union has it. So that's another vehicle too. So someone applies, we're going to see where they fit. That's an income qualifier and a project qualifier. There's certain things you can't do with that, but sometimes we'll flip them over and say, hey, we can do it with our loan. So we have different options for people to help them through the process. So that's pretty cool. And we have a lot of people that take out the loan just to help them make those payments into monthly payments. So again, we help at every step. So after the audit, we're going to help connect customers with contractors. We're going to help review those estimates. We're going to help prioritize. And then I think the really other cool part about Heat Squad is that when the job is done, we're going to do a quality inspection of the work 100%. So we're going to make sure that the project's done right. It's to code, customer's happy, the customer got what they paid for. If they didn't, we're going to go back to the contractor. What happened here? What went on here? Customer, don't pay the contractor until we figure that out. And then we submit for the rebates for the customer. We do have different fees. The audit fee is one step, the beginning fee. Right now I have a grant. So Bennington County, I don't have to charge fees other than the audit fee. I don't have to charge any other fees right now. So that's why I really want to I only have that till the end of this year. But I can talk about that too. So yeah, and we help people to kind of, you know, if there's issues with the work, we're going to deal with it, but we're doing that quality inspection at the end of the project. And we're the only ones that do that in the state. And then we submit for paperwork. And like I said, it's $1,000 or $4,000. So yeah, right now we have a grant from Efficiency Vermont that's helping us to do more in Bennington County. COVID kind of shut me down, and then I needed to hire an auditor, and that got all crazy. But so I do have funding left for the rest of this year. I have goals I have to do for Bennington County. So right now audits in Bennington County are $100, not $150. And I have some other programs I'm going to talk to in a minute that can help with that too. But I just want to get it out there that, you know, this is the time to do this work. I know contractors are busy, but there's some that can take some work this year, but highly want people to move and get this work done. And also I should say, if we also have this other model, it's called Heat Squad Lite, which I don't have a slide yet because it's kind of new. But if a customer is working with a contractor to do weatherization, and maybe they don't want an audit because they already have it figured out, though I wish everyone gets an audit, but maybe they don't. They figured it out. They're working with a contractor. It's a contractor we know of and know does good work. We can get them the rebates for the customer, no fees at all. But we do have to do a pre-blower door. So we just have to slide in and get a blower door reading before they do the work, and then do a blower door at the back end and get them the rebates from Efficiency Vermont. So again, I've got this funding for right now to do this for free. So I'm trying to get the word out there to contractors maybe I don't know, and I've got a few that I do know that do send their customers in this scenario to me. Because again, it's a customer that knows what they want. They don't want an audit, even though I wish they got one, but that's okay. They don't have to. People are coming at this from different places, and that's okay. So, you know, we want to work with people wherever they're at and help them get to that end game, however we can, with what, you know, with partners or financing or whatever's needed. So right now I have these two programs. I have a lot of programs right now, but so we have on the left is a wood stove program change out. Well, it's also a new program we're running. I've been running it in Bennington County, just started in COVID in February. This is going to keep going on. The state keeps encouraging me to keep going. So it's on the left. It's up to 120 AMI customers. You can kind of see that orange box in the middle. is household and household income that can apply for this. But what's neat about this program is that it can be a customer that okay, so maybe they have a really old wood stove. It has to be 1998 or older, and we can replace it with a new efficient wood or pellet stove. We could potentially give them, the blue box on the bottom is the rebates, could be up to $3,800 off a wood or pellet stove, which is most of the cost, and then they can take out a loan if they need. Or they've never burned wood or pellets, and now we're going to reduce fossil fuel, so I can put in a wood or pellet stove, and that's the little column on the right, which is $2,400 if you're lower income, I can give off in that scenario. So the state gave us money because Rutland County and Bennington County has some of the worst outdoor air quality. So they want to get rid of these old wood stoves and put in new efficient, clean burning and helping, outdoor air and indoor air. So they're encouraging customers to replace these units. Again, it's either replace them or you've never burned wood or pellets before. And so this is reducing your fossil fuel. So along with these rebates, the state also said, Melanie, we want you to do weatherization too. I said, okay. So if I have a wood stove customer that comes in, they could get a free audit through us while they're replacing their stove, and I can layer on extra weatherization rebates on top of Efficiency Vermont. So this is where it gets a little tricky, but stay with me. So if a customer replaces a stove, I can give them up to $3,800 off of that. I can give them a free audit. And then I can give, if they're lower moderate income, which they would be to get the stove, they can get up to $4,000 from Efficiency Vermont. And then I can layer on another $1,200 on top of that. And then I have another $1,000 I can put on top of that, which is the program I have on the right. It gets a little complicated, but just know that I have funding to help with weatherization for Bennington County for 120 AMI and lower. I can help maybe with a free audit if they're coming in the wood stove program. I've got all these extra rebates if they do a stove and weatherization. If they're coming in and they already have a contractor and they're doing the right insulation work, I can for free get them the rebates from Efficiency Vermont. So I have a lot to do down here in Bennington County, and I just need to help get the word out for sure. The program on the right is this, V-Light gave us some money to help low income Vermonters, and I've basically had it in Northeast Kingdom and Bennington. And that's just layering on half the project cost up to $1,000 on top of Efficiency Vermont's. And again, if you did wood stove, I could put on top of the wood stove rebates too for weatherization. So somebody could get, what is that, 4, 5, 6,200 off their project potentially, plus 3,800 off a new wood or pellet stove. So a lot of rebates. And then there's the financing if needed, which is great. Interest rates, interest rate buy down, or just great interest rates and flexible too. So a lot to offer for Bennington County. So get the word out there for sure. The wood stove program, like I said, that's going to continue into next year. The V-Light, that's ending this year. And the Heat Squad Light, which is where we just help contractors get rebates, that's going to continue, but it will be probably for a fee next year because I don't have a funding source for that. But right now it's free, which is cool. You guys, we already went through some of this, but why we do this work, right? It's cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter, and drafts, increasing your value. Health and safety, Mark, you talked about this too, just bringing it back up. Occupant health is kind of my one thing I focus on for sure. We want to make people healthy, and homes can make people sick. I grew up in a very sick home, and I was in and out of hospitals and asthma because there was moisture, there was mildew, and it triggered asthma, and I was very sick as a child. But if we can take out that moisture and make homes healthier, then we're making occupant. We're not going to solve health issues. I want to be very clear with that, but we can lower the triggers, keep them out of hospitals, keep them in schools, keep the parents at work. So important to keep our homes healthy. So we address those health and safety issues, protecting your investment. We're keeping out that moisture. This work increases your value of your home, decreases your maintenance of your home. So super important work we do. And you're supporting your economy, right? We're workforce development. We're putting revenue into the local economy by hiring contractors. We're not, paying for fossil fuel. We're reducing it. It's not going, overseas. It's staying local. So it's win-win-win, as Bernie Sanders has said in my office before. So thank you. That's my presentation. You probably have a lot of questions on those programs, and happy to answer that if anybody has any questions. But thank you.
I got one. I've always got a question.
You always got questions, Jim.
Hey, so on the stove change out program, you talk about like old inefficient wood burning stoves being replaced with something that's a lot cleaner burning. You know, what if somebody has a pellet stove that's maybe 15 years old that's wearing out? Is that not eligible?
Not for mine, but Efficiency Vermont has rebates that I believe can be used. They're not as aggressive as mine, but no, the state, because the state felt that the pellet stoves were already efficient. So no, it has to be either you don't have a wood or pellet, or you've got a wood stove that's older than 1998. So yeah, fortunately. I know I get that question a lot. Fortunately, unless I change something, but right now I can't. Any other questions? I didn't look at the chat box. Are there questions in there? Do you need my phone? Do you need our numbers? That what Wayne was asking about?
No, and set me straight, so I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, good. And our website too, heatsquad.org, is another easy peasy way to get to us too. But yeah, if anybody, you know, I can send the flyers too, if anybody wants to help spread those around. I could send them to Allison. I don't know if I could send them to you, and if you could get them to the participants.
No, we'll do what we can. It's so hard to figure out how to get things out these days, but we'll do our best. So.
I know it is hard, right? Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody's thinking about the weatherization, we also do our stoves we don't have too much left. I think we got another 20,000, which it's going to be probably about 4 stove installs. We do the same thing. So I think we've done 17 so far. But when the coach goes out to the visit, he'll evaluate the home for that. And as Melanie said, also, you don't have to have a wood stove. We can use it for supplemental heat to decrease the carbon of your fuel burning heat sources as well. So, there's a lot of old stoves out there that are unsafe and not working efficiently.
Sure.
Does anybody else have any questions, or is everybody getting hungry because they scheduled this at dinner time?
I have something. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think one of the biggest problems for us in Dorset, and for maybe lots of people, is how to identify the people that could use this. We can't really come across them because we're not getting out and about and finding them. We're not working at our rummage sale. We're not doing a lot of the things. How can we spread the word? I mean, there are a lot of new residents in town, I hear, that have bought houses and they're moving here that could maybe use this. I don't know if we can go to town hall and look through the recent changes, the recent purchasing. But have you got any brainy ideas for us to get to people with this information?
Hey, Nancy, this is Wayne Goodman down here in Bennington. One potential way to approach it, which I found out sort of sideways because I'm not much of a Facebook person, is I found out that in my neighborhood, there's actually there's a community chat group, if you will, where there's a number of people who have had some like-minded issues that they just decided to create a group. And so my thoughts are that you might be able to find out, if there's a way you can find out who the new residents of your town are, that you can maybe you could get someone to start, or you could start a chat room like that, and in that chat room you could start asking questions about how they felt about the weatherization of their house and energy savings and so forth. Mm-hmm. Just a thought, kind of trying to think outside the box as an old 62-year-old guy.
Well, I know Front Porch Forum we started a number of years ago, but not very many people are on it. I mean, that might be something, but there are very few people that use it.
I have one suggestion. So I don't know if this would help. I'm not exactly sure of Dorset's situation, but Arlington Energy Committee asked me to print out a bunch of flyers that highlighted incentive programs, and they put them in the bags for the free lunch bus that went around over, I think it was over the summer. And since they were running all the school buses and the meals for students, they just like packed them full of these little flyers. So I don't know about Dorset if they have anything, and the buses aren't running in Bennington. I think they do every Wednesday, but I'm not sure if Dorset does that. But maybe if there's some sort of like community drive, community drop off kind of system, you could put some promotional flyers.
Yeah, there are some up. There's a CSA that is also giving bags of food to a bunch of people. And so that would work in
Yeah, that might be a nice partnership.
people that, yeah, okay, thank you.
I have a question. Is there some kind of compilation of the material available, or will there be of the material that we've gotten today? And in particular, Melanie's offerings for Bennington County? Would that be available in some kind of format that we could make available to people who are new landowners or property owners in Dorset, as well as in the CSA food bags that Nancy's talking about?
So I was going to email the flyers to Allison.
Yeah.
To then,
Good.
oh, there's Ann. And then send it out through.
I could also,
Go ahead, Ann.
no, sorry. I could also add some of the things we've tried to do up in the Northeast Kingdom, which have been, it's been tough getting the word out. You know, not being able to go to a community festival or a fair or a farmer's market. It's been really, really hard. But I've done posters, you know, flyers for Heat Squad. I've also done a sort of like a monthly newsletter to send out to people who I know are interested. It was actually turned out to be a pretty small group of just the few energy committees that are active in the kingdom. And mostly those things they would land on deaf ears and I wouldn't get any response, which was kind of hard. But, you know, luckily made me really pleased me when Trisha, who works in our office, she's the one who does the scheduling. And if she got a call from anybody in one of our towns, she would always give me a heads up. So I think it takes a lot of persistence. And I think you kind of have to do it everywhere as much as you can. And, you know, people still have to go to the gas station. They still have to go to the grocery store. So maybe, and also I would be happy to send Allison, you know, a couple of newsletters that I've put out. And one of our main partners up here is our own Regional Planning Commission, NVDA, because they've done, you know, like you're doing down in your region, they've done a lot of webinars and they have an email newsletter and, you know, all kinds of good things. So they're a really important partner for Heat Squad.
And we put did we put an insert in tax bills? What did we put the insert in? What was that?
Oh, that was very cool. That was one town. That was the town of Sutton. The Sutton Energy Committee, they said, hey, we got to get the word out to people. So they created their own insert, which thankfully for us had our Heat Squad information on one side, and then it had some more general more specific information that was just more relevant for their town. And they mailed that out with their tax bills.
We got calls.
Which was in I think it was in early September. So that was a pretty good effort.
That was good. And
I
then
mean, you can also put things in your town office, because people do have to go in there from time to time.
Not very often. Not often enough.
I wonder if there's any real estate people or agencies that are local that wouldn't mind promoting it to new buyers too?
I'm not sure they're a group that's very much in favor of all this.
Oh.
Yeah.
We did that. We did
Yeah.
that. We did that up here.
Did you?
Back in last year, I did a talk with I went to one of their monthly meetings and just told them about the program and how it works. I'm not sure a lot came from it, although actually I think one person who's a realtor actually signed up for her own home. So I think they see the value of, you're basically improving the value of the home by doing this. You're adding a selling point. So
Not all of them, but we've actually, I can't think of her name, but either in Manchester or Bennington, there's a realtor who would pay for audits for her buyers' homes. It was crazy.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Right? It was crazy. She was so into it.
Wow.
But there's a special designation. It's like a green realtor designation that I always try to look for because obviously they get it. They're green realtors. So you could kind of mind that for your area. But I do think it's worth talking to the realtors for
Yeah.
sure, because I've gotten a lot of refers and buyers and sellers. Oh, my realtor sent me. That's great. All over the place. Building
Wow.
inspectors too. I've gotten referrals. Roofers, all the trades, roofers, electricians, plumbers. I get lots of calls from fuel dealers. I used to, but not so much anymore. But I do think realtors is a good group to talk to.
Well,
Sure.
it will be helpful in the long run because there is an effort in the state to do labeling. And this may make some of them more open to it when it comes.
You talk to Richard, I'm on Richard's committee. And the realtors keep getting in the way, but that's okay. That's okay.
we've also put flyers in hardware stores. And the town of Danville did a really smart thing. They had a button up. Of course, it was back in the good old days when it was in person. But what they did was they borrowed a whole tub full of weatherization supplies, like window insulation and caulking guns and all of that stuff, and brought that to the meeting, because you'd be surprised at how many people who own homes have no idea what to do with any of that stuff. And it's overwhelming. You walk into a hardware store and there's, you could spend hours there and have a hard time deciding what you should buy.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah, I know BROC did an event at the Applegate down in Bennington and handed out a lot of flyers. And Melanie mentioned the one-stop shop and clients that come in for any assistance, either to help pay their electric bill, crisis fuel, or housing or anything else, basically get directed to weatherization department, or at least fill out an application and see if they qualify, to see if they're eligible for the weatherization services. Most people that do that are eligible. So again, if they get fuel assistance or they need help with their bills, they do get directed to weatherization to get that application. Getting them back or having them fill it out is always an issue, though.
I wanted to make sure people saw that Becca posted a link regarding pellet boilers, a question that Bruce had asked. So thanks for that. Yeah, and as far as getting the word out, our great idea. This does not work, but it was a great idea. It was to work with the fuel dealers. We tried to get them to put an insert in with their drop-offs at their customers' homes, because that would hit everybody and be tied right to their fuel bill. Of course,
Yeah.
Fuel dealers, many of them, I think, that decided that wouldn't be good for their business. But so our tack 2 on that was to try to reach out to the fuel dealers to get them to consider changing their business model, to start actually selling some of these weatherization and alternative heating systems themselves. So far, that hasn't been very successful either, but we're going to keep trying, because I really think that I think that's a key piece of this whole thing, is working with those fuel dealers.
I had fuel dealers that actually helped pay for the price of an audit. I had 2 locally here that contributed $50 towards the audit costs for their customers, which I thought was pretty good.
Good.
And I have Heat
Send
Squad
them our way.
stickers on some of the trucks, and they put it in their flyer, their website. But I had to sell it as, you're going to be the good guy because you're saving your customers fuel, which is kind of weird, but you're going to look like the hero. So look at you. Plus, you're helping those customers to save on their energy bills. So then maybe next year you circle back to them and say, hey, you save money. Now's the time to replace your heating system. So Johnson Energy can help you with that. So that's how I used to sell it to them. But you got to get the right fuel dealer. They don't all get it. So, but I had 4 or 5 around here that it was a great partnership. It takes a lot of work, as you know, Jim. It's a lot of work, but it's a good thing when it does work, for sure.
I might have to recruit you to come down here and chat with some of our local fuel dealers.
I can do that. I've done it before.
Okay.
I have a question about old wood boilers. There are a couple of Dorset people that I know that are interested in replacing old wood boilers and are on, does CDF do that? Yes. CEDF do that? Or is there anyone who does that in terms of, not does it, but does anyone subsidize it or give a discount or a rebate?
Becca, you're muted.
I believe, thank you, Melody. I'm just looking right now. I'm not as fluent in our modern wood heating rebates, and I think your question is around, Ellen, is around if someone has an already existing wood stove and is trying to upgrade it to a modern wood stove.
Wood boiler.
Wood boiler.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna put the link out there that I put one in the chat above, which does talk about central wood heaters, boilers, and some of the incentives, but I'm not sure if the eligibility means you are going from no wood to wood. So I apologize. Okay, replacement or expansion of existing biomass systems.
Yes.
Yes, that qualifies for these rebates.
And you're good. Can you email me that?
I can and I've also put it in the chat, but I will pop it in an email now.
That is in the chat may go by me.
Okay, I've got it. Spring peepers, not to
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
call it your email address or anything.
Great. I think that's everything that's in the chat. Does anybody have anything else you'd like to bring up before we sign off?
Just one more quick one. I'm trying to think outside the box still as it relates to outreach. And I'm wondering if it's a heavier lift than most of the local communities could manage, but I'm wondering if there would be any traction in the concept of having Efficiency Vermont, or more specifically Efficiency Vermont, because of the size of their organization, do something like a once a month YouTube channel where they're actually, where they're sort of posting some video footage of energy retrofit type of work, and talking about